If you can't handle my friends being honest, you can just pay the bill and leave. That's what Sierra said. In front of everyone. At a steakhouse I paid for. I stood up, threw down some bills, and walked out. She thought I'd crawl back in 5 minutes. But she had no idea who she was dealing with. My name's Nathan Cole. I'm 29. I've been running commercial electrical in Tulsa for the last decade. Nothing flashy, but I keep this city's power on, and I've built my life from the ground up. I restore Harleys on weekends. Not because it's cheap, but because it's mine. I thought Sierra, my girlfriend of 3 years, saw that. Turns out, she just saw what I wasn't. And her friends Madison, Aubrey, Vanessa. They didn't just look down on me. They tried to bury me. But let me tell you something. You don't bury a man who knows how to dig. Before we dive in, hit that like button if you've ever had to walk away from toxic people. Subscribe for more stories about standing your ground when no one else will. Now, let me show you how everything changed that night, and why I'll never regret walking out. 3 years ago, I met Sierra Blake on a random Friday night in downtown Tulsa. I was at the Foxhole Bar with my buddy Travis, celebrating his big promotion in HVAC. She was across the room with her girls. Birthday balloons tied to their table, heels too high, laughs too loud. And somehow, she made her way over to me. We ended up talking at the bar for nearly an hour. Not once did she ask what I did for a living. Not once did I feel like I had to prove myself. She asked about my Harley project, listened like she actually cared. Her eyes lit up when I described rebuilding the engine. She even asked what tools I used. And I remember thinking finally, someone different. She was a brand strategist climbing the ladder at a regional marketing firm, sharp, confident, always dressed like she walked out of a Pinterest board. She had this "I'm not like other girls" vibe. But in hindsight, that was just branding. And I fell for it. At first, things were good. She laughed at my stories about job site disasters, said she admired how hands-on I was. I'd bring over brisket on Sundays. She'd show me her pitch decks for new clients. We were two different worlds, somehow clicking. But then came the first cracks. When I invited her to Travis's backyard barbecue competition, she asked, "Will there be normal people there too?" It was meant as a joke, I guess. But it hit different. Another time, I stopped by her place after working under a school building all day, still covered in grime and drywall dust. She opened the door and looked at me like I'd tracked mud through her marble floors. Didn't say hi. Just, "Couldn't you have changed first?" It stung. Not because I was dirty, but because I was proud. That grime paid for everything I owned. That grime was me. I should have paid attention to those red flags. Instead, I convinced myself she just needed time to adjust, that our differences made us stronger. So when her lease came up, I offered she move in. My place in Midtown had space, a garage for the Harley, and a view of downtown sunsets. It made sense. But deep down, I knew I was giving more than I was getting. Then came her friends. 3 women who could turn a compliment into a slap and still smile while doing it. Madison Drake, the queen bee, corporate, calculated, could make "bless your heart" sound like a death threat. Aubrey Lane, the influencer, took a picture of every meal, bragged about her brand partnerships while bouncing rent checks. And Vanessa Cruz, my personal favorite, pretended to be self-made, but couldn't hold a job for more than 6 months. Special talent sliding insults into casual conversation and acting confused when you caught them. I tried to get along. I really did. There was one summer. I smoked brisket for Sierra's birthday, woke up at 4 a.m., kept the fire going 14 hours. When they showed up, Madison walked around my smoker like she was touring a zoo. Wow. So authentic. Like one of those Food Network shows about comfort food. Aubrey chimed in. My boyfriend usually just makes reservations. But this is cute. Very rustic. And Vanessa, with a smirk. At least we know Nathan's good with his hands. That must help in your relationship, huh? Sierra. I didn't even know what to say. But when I brought it up later, Sierra just laughed. You're being too sensitive. They were joking. It became a pattern. Anytime her friends made passive digs about my job, my clothes, my family, I was overreacting. But when Travis clapped back, or I pushed back even a little, I was suddenly embarrassing her. The double standard was exhausting. Still, I bit my tongue more times than I can count. Skipped their group events. Said I had emergencies. More Harley work. Anything. Sierra noticed, but she never asked why. And I took that silence as permission to keep retreating. Travis warned me. They're training you, man. Making you feel like standing up for yourself is the problem. It's gaslighting 101. He was right. But when you love someone, you give too many passes. You try to be the bigger person. You hope they'll meet you halfway. And then, Sierra got promoted. Senior brand strategist. Corner office. Salary bump. She was over the moon, and honestly, I was proud of her. No bitterness, no envy, just real, genuine pride. So I offered to take her and the girls out. Celebrate properly. No backyard brisket, no paper plates. I made reservations at Mahogany Prime downtown. Classy, quiet, expensive. My treat. And in my head, I kept thinking, maybe tonight they'll see me differently. Maybe if I spend enough, they'll shut up. Spoiler, they didn't. But I had no idea just how bad it was going to get. I still remember the night like it's carved into stone. Mahogany Prime. 7 p.m. I'd requested a quiet corner booth. Figured the least I could do was set the tone right. Sierra showed up looking like $1,000,000. Black dress I'd never seen before. Fresh blowout, gold hoops that shimmered when she laughed. For the first 5 minutes, I forgot everything. Forgot the digs, the tension. It was just us. And I remembered why I'd fallen for her in the first place. Then, they arrived. Madison led the charge, clicking in on heels like she owned the building. She wore this fitted beige blazer that probably cost more than my motorcycle trailer. Looked every bit like a corporate villain in a Netflix drama. Aubrey followed, already mid-Instagram story, taking a boomerang of the hostess stand. Vanessa brought up the rear, draped in designer knockoffs, looking like she'd just left a power lunch. Except she hadn't worked in 3 months. I stood up politely, pulled out chairs. They barely acknowledged me. The server came, and they dove straight into the drink menu like they were ordering at an open bar. I kept it simple, ordered a Boulevard. They each picked some overpriced cocktail with names that sounded like bad poetry. At first, things felt normal. We toasted to Sierra's promotion. She was glowing, talking about her new title, her upcoming leadership retreat in Denver, how she'd finally earned respect in the room. and I was happy for her. Truly. Even started thinking maybe I was wrong. Maybe they can be decent for one night. Then the appetizers arrived. That's when it started. Madison turned to me with that smile people wear before they land a punch. "So, Nathan, still playing electrician?" I smiled. Forced, but polite. "Still running commercial systems. Work's been good. Just wrapped a hospital remodel." She sipped her drink, eyes locked on mine. Must be nice. Such a simple job. Right, just follow instructions, plug in a few wires. It hit like a slap in slow motion. But I kept it cool. Actually, modern electrical systems are highly complex. There's a lot of code work and problem solving, especially in commercial settings. Aubrey cut in, already rolling her eyes. "Please, you don't need a degree to be an electrician. Sierra's out here running strategy sessions with C-suite execs. That's actual pressure." I looked at Sierra. She wasn't laughing. But she wasn't stopping it, either. Then Vanessa leaned forward, smug. "Wait. What's that thing you do again? With motorcycles? You buy broken ones and try to fix them. Isn't that, like, a money pit?" I let out a breath. "I restore vintage Harleys. Just finished a 1979 Shovelhead. Took me 8 months." Vanessa gave this little snort. "Cute hobby. How much money do you throw into those rust buckets?" Before I could answer, she turned to Sierra. "Girl, you could do so much better. Whatever happened to that guy from your Denver conference, Derek? He was in real estate development. Actual ambition." My blood ran cold. Sierra did that thing, tilted her head, gave a nervous laugh, waved it off like a sitcom misunderstanding. Didn't defend me. Didn't say a word. I felt the shift. Not just the insult, but the silence. And that's when I realized I was alone at that table. Dinner went on, but the conversation sharpened. They called me a grease monkey. Joked about how Sierra had to talk slowly to me because I didn't go to college. Betty's sorry. Madison actually said, "Sierra's a saint for dating down." Most women wouldn't. Dating down, like I was a charity project. And still, I kept quiet. I kept smiling, kept sipping my beer, kept praying the night would end without incident. But then Aubrey leaned in. "I honestly don't know what you two even talk about. I mean, what does Sierra say to a guy who didn't finish community college?" Vanessa added with a fake whisper. "Probably uses small words. Real slow. Bless his heart." And that's when I set my fork down. Looked straight at Sierra. "I think that's enough." She sighed. Not out of concern. Out of frustration. Like I was the one making a scene. "Nathan, they're just having fun. Don't be so sensitive." Sensitive. That word again. The shield they hid behind every time they tore me down. I looked at them. All three. Waiting. Watching. Like this was a test. And then Sierra said it. "If you can't handle my friends being honest, you can just pay the bill and leave." Just like that. No emotion, no hesitation. And suddenly, it all clicked. They never respected me. Not one of them. And Sierra, she didn't love me. She loved what I gave her: support, security, a man who didn't ask for anything back. But I wasn't going to sit there and be their entertainment. So I stood up. I stood up from the table. No yelling. No flipping plates. Just quiet. Controlled. Because when you're done, you don't explode, you let go. The whole table froze. Sierra looked at me like I'd grown another head. Madison's smirk twitched. Just a little. Aubrey paused mid-sip, her phone still in hand. Vanessa blinked like she wasn't sure I was serious. I pulled out my wallet, did some quick math. My steak had been $42, add drinks, tax. Tip it came out to around $60. I laid three $20 bills neatly on the table. This covers my meal. I looked at Sierra. Thanks for the suggestion. Her lips parted probably to stop me. But she didn't speak. I reached for my keys, still resting beside the wine glass, slipped them into my pocket, turned, and walked away. The restaurant had quieted. People were watching now. Some stared, a few whispered, and honestly, I didn't care. By the time I passed the hostess stand, I heard it, a soft burst of laughter behind me. Aubrey's voice, crystal clear. He'll be crawling back in 5 minutes. Watch. That was the moment everything inside me settled. Because she thought I was bluffing. They all did. But every step I took toward that parking lot felt like shedding a weight I didn't realize I'd been carrying. 3 years of passive jabs, of biting my tongue, of trying to belong in a world that never welcomed me gone. I got into my truck, closed the door, and sat there for a moment. Just breathing. Not angry, not bitter. Relieved. I hadn't planned for this. Didn't have a grand strategy or a screw-you speech rehearsed. But I knew one thing with absolute clarity. I wasn't going back. 10 minutes into the drive home, my phone started buzzing. Texts from Sierra. Very funny. Come back and pay the bill. Nathan, this isn't cute anymore. Are you serious right now? Get back here. I kept driving. Didn't respond. I pulled into my apartment's lot, walked inside, grabbed my duffel, and started packing. Enough clothes for a week, toiletries, chargers, the basics. All the while, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Sierra again, then Madison, Aubrey, even Vanessa. And the tone had shifted from smug to desperate, because now they realized I wasn't joking. And they had racked up a $500 tab like they were dining with royalty. Multiple appetizers, premium steaks, cocktails with words like infused and aged in barrels, desserts, bottles of wine. None of it budgeted. All of it expected to be covered. And I'd left $60. When I knocked on Travis's door around 11:30 p.m., he didn't say a word at first. Just stared at the duffel in my hand. Then he grinned. Took you long enough. He stepped aside. Let me in, handed me a blanket and motioned toward the couch. You crash here as long as you need. Also, proud of you. About damn time. That night, I slept like I hadn't in months. No mental gymnastics. No anxiety about the next group dinner or subtle insult. Just silence and peace. The next morning, my phone was in meltdown mode. Text after text from Sierra. You humiliated me. My friends think you're pathetic. You left me with a $500 bill. This is so embarrassing. You need to Venmo me. Now. Answer your phone. I didn't. But around 3 the real show began. Madison sent a dissertation-length message. You tricked us. This was financial abuse. You knew we'd order big. And you planned to walk out. Right. Because responding exactly the way they told me to pay and leave was apparently entrapment now. Then Aubrey chimed in with her classic one-liner flair. You're a loser. Sierra deserves a man, not a man-child. And Vanessa? Oh, Vanessa. She sent a Venmo request for $150 with the note. reimbursement for emotional distress, and Uber. I stared at it for a second, laughed out loud, took a screenshot. Travis leaned over my shoulder. They're in full panic mode. You just ripped the mask off. He wasn't wrong, but I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. And that meant it was time to stop reacting and start moving. Because they weren't just going to let this die quietly. And the damage they were about to cause, I needed to be ready for it. This wasn't just a breakup. It was war. The beauty of walking away is that every step gives you clarity. And by the time I woke up that morning, I had a plan. Not a petty one. Not emotional. This wasn't about making them hurt. It was about making things right and making sure they understood that actions have consequences. Step 1. Protect what's mine. I went back to the apartment while Sierra was at work to grab the rest of my stuff. Legally, I still lived there. My name was on the lease, and I'd been paying half the rent. I had every right to be there. But when I walked in, something felt off. First, the smell. Stale wine. Takeout boxes. A hint of perfume mixed with stress. Like the aftermath of a rage-fueled sleepover. Then I saw them. 2 noise complaint notices taped to the door from our building manager. Apparently, the girls had turned Monday night into a war council. Loud enough to wake the whole floor. Great, that was now on my rental record too. But that wasn't the worst part. My PlayStation gone, eventually found it stashed in her closet, wrapped in a blanket behind a pile of heels. Weird, but survivable. Then I checked the garage, and my heart dropped. Half my tool set was missing. These weren't off-the-shelf wrenches. This was professional-grade gear I'd spent 8 years collecting. Voltage testers, multimeters, conduit benders. My fluke meter $600 alone. Panic turned to anger as I started checking every drawer, closet, and cabinet. Found my socket set hidden under the bathroom sink. Cable puller behind the winter coats. Like she thought I wouldn't notice. Or worse, wouldn't dare confront her. Then I opened Facebook Marketplace. And there they were. My tools. Listed under Sierra's profile. Klein voltage tester $75. Retail $200. Fluke multimeter $300. Bought for $600. Even my Harley jack stand was up for grabs. I scrolled further and nearly choked. My shovel head. The bike I'd poured months into. Listed on Craigslist. Project bike, needs work, $3,000 OBO. Moving out of state, must sell fast. That Harley was worth at least 12 grand in its current condition. Closer to 18 once I finished the restoration. And it wasn't hers to sell. I immediately called the Tulsa police non-emergency line. So, she's selling your property without permission. Yes. I have receipts, photos, insurance documents. This was all mine before the relationship. Okay, sir. That's theft. We'll have an officer meet you to file a report. While waiting, I called Travis. Dude, I need your trailer, now. What did she do? She's trying to sell the Harley. I'll be there in 20. Travis pulled up just as the cop arrived. Thankfully, the officer was solid. Professional. Explained that while shared property during cohabitation can get messy, stolen personal property with proof was straightforward. Document everything. Screenshots, listings, messages. You've got enough for charges. We loaded up what was left of my tools, locked the Harley down, and moved it all to Travis's garage. By the time Sierra got home, the workshop was empty. My phone rang that afternoon. Mr. Daniels, our landlord. Nathan. Sierra says you abandoned the apartment and wants you removed from the lease. I've been gone 4 days. I was filing a police report this morning for theft. She said you moved out permanently. I haven't. In fact, I'd be happy to take over the lease solo. There was a pause. Honestly, you've always paid on time. No complaints till this week. If you want it, it's yours. But one more noise complaint, and she's out. I hung up with a smile. Not only did I just rescue my tools and bike, I was one step closer to reclaiming my space. Now, it was time for step 2. Expose the truth. I texted Sierra my first message since the restaurant. You have 24 hours to return all remaining property or I press charges. This includes the tools listed under your name on Facebook Marketplace. Detective Morrison is assigned to the case. She replied in minutes. Those were gifts. We live together. What's yours is mine. Wrong answer. I called the detective. She's claiming they were gifts. Tell her to provide proof. Receipts, cards, anything. If she can't, we file full theft charges. I texted again. Please provide documentation showing these were gifts. Detective Morrison needs it for his report. She went silent. But while I waited for the law to do its part, Travis had a better idea. Let's hit back where it hurts their public image. He pulled up Sierra's Facebook post. She'd already started the smear campaign. Nathan walked out on a $500 bill. So embarrassing. Ladies, beware of men who can't handle successful women. Madison reposted it with a rant about toxic masculinity and financial abuse. Aubrey added photos from the restaurant with captions like, "Deadbeat boyfriend energy, can't handle strong women." And they tagged me. They tagged my family. Even my work's Facebook page. That's when Travis stepped in. He found a screenshot from Aubrey's Instagram, posted the next night at another fancy restaurant. Interesting how someone who couldn't afford a $500 bill last night is enjoying a $150 dinner tonight. He added a caption, almost like this wasn't about money after all. The post blew up, shared over 200 times in local Tulsa groups. In the comment section, a war zone. Waiters and servers from around the city chimed in. Apparently, the queens of brunch had a reputation demanding rude and zero-tip regulars. Even a server from Mahogany commented. I worked that night. The guy who walked out, only polite one at the table. But the real knockout came from a surprising source. Terrell, Vanessa's boyfriend. He DM'd me out of nowhere. Dude, I saw the texts. What they did to you is beyond messed up. Want to know something worse? Turns out, Vanessa had been lying for months. She wasn't employed. Had been fired 3 weeks ago. She was living off credit cards and Terrell's paycheck pretending to still work. That Venmo request, she needed it. He'd had enough. Sent me screenshots of Vanessa texting Sierra. Nathan's such a loser. Sierra's dating down so hard it's sad. Terrell packed his things and left that weekend. And the chain reaction had begun. It didn't take long for the dominoes to fall. Once Terrell left Vanessa and the post about Aubrey's lavish dinner started circulating. Things spun out of their control fast. What started as a private humiliation turned into full-blown public reckoning. Madison tried to strike back first. She posted a long-winded status about how she was documenting everything for when Sierra took me to court. Court for what? Exactly walking out when told to, not footing a bill I didn't agree to. But then she got bold too bold. She left a fake Google review on my electrical business page. Unprofessional, rude, unreliable. Left my friends with a huge dinner bill and refused to apologize. What she didn't realize was defamation is a legal line you don't want to cross, especially not in Missouri or Oklahoma, where I live. Even worse, she used her real name. And her Facebook profile was linked directly to the review. I called my business attorney. He drafted a cease and desist within hours, sent it straight to Madison and her employer's legal team. The review disappeared that evening, but Travis had already screenshotted it. We had evidence, solid and time-stamped. That same week, Madison's company dropped her from their PR contracts. Word was they didn't want to be associated with social media drama that undermines client trust. Then came Sierra's downfall. Remember how she tagged her job in her bio? How her public rant about me went semi-viral? Well, someone from HR saw it. And Sierra's firm had a very clear policy about employees posting content that damages the company's reputation. Even though she didn't name them directly, her promotion was linked to her title publicly. She got called into a meeting. 2 days later, the decision came down. Promotion rescinded. She was reassigned to a low-priority internal comms team. No client-facing work, no travel, no corner office, just spreadsheets and silence. And that was just the start. Mr. Daniels, our landlord, called again. Nathan, we've had 2 noise complaints in 1 week. Police visits, it violates the lease agreement. Sierra was served with a 30-day notice to vacate. Apparently, blasting Lizzo and screaming with your friends at 2 a.m. while committing felony theft draws attention. Now job demoted, apartment lost, and friends turning on each other, Sierra finally tried damage control. She called my lawyer. Well, her lawyer did. Nathan, my client would like to resolve this matter amicably. She's prepared to offer full restitution, along with a settlement for any inconvenience. My counteroffer. She pleads guilty to misdemeanor theft, pays restitution in full, and stays away from me. No deal if she tries to dodge accountability. They didn't like that. Hung up. Tried to ghost it. So I moved forward. Detective Morrison filed charges. The arraignment hearing was scheduled. I showed up in work boots and a clean shirt, receipts in hand. Sierra showed up in a borrowed suit, pale, shaking, and holding onto her lawyer like a flotation device. When the judge asked for documentation, I handed over every receipt, photos, timestamps, insurance files, Craigslist listings with her contact info. Everything. Her side, nothing. No proof the tools were gifts. No signed agreement. Just vague claims and uncomfortable silence. The judge looked at her, then back at the stack of proof in front of him. Guilty of misdemeanor theft, 1 year probation, $2,500 fine, full restitution. And just like that, she had a permanent record. But there was more. Her company had a policy requiring employees to disclose criminal convictions. When HR found out, they didn't just keep her off clients. They demoted her again, this time to an admin support role with no upward mobility. She went from a rising star to someone fetching coffee. And still, I didn't gloat, didn't post, didn't call. But they weren't done imploding. Aubrey's world collapsed next. Her boyfriend, Derek, the one Vanessa suggested Sierra should have dated instead of me. Well, during their lease renewal, he ran a credit check. Turned out Aubrey had racked up $47,000 in debt. Credit cards maxed, bills unpaid. She'd been living off of partnership money that didn't exist. He moved out that weekend. She had to sell her car, take a bartending job, and move in with 2 girls she used to mock online. The influencer lifestyle vanished overnight. And Vanessa, she won the crash and burn trophy. Terrell didn't just walk away. He'd been quietly collecting evidence. The Venmo requests, the guilt trips, the pressure to pay for everything. He filed a restraining order on grounds of emotional and financial abuse. It stuck. With that on her record, she lost her offer from a marketing agency she'd been bragging about for months. Worse, her parents found out she was living at their house with a restraining order pending. They kicked her out. Last I heard, she was working phones at a call center in Independence, trying to convince strangers to switch internet providers. The entire friend group crumbled. Without Sierra paying for brunch, Aubrey posing for content, and Vanessa manipulating from the shadows, there was nothing holding them together. They turned on each other like hungry dogs. Madison blamed Sierra for dating down. Vanessa accused Aubrey of sabotaging her brand. Aubrey told everyone Madison was toxic from the start. The group chat went dead. The dinner invitation stopped. The photos vanished from Instagram like they'd never been close. 3 years of polished selfies and perfect filters gone. It's funny how fast things unravel when you stop holding them together. Once I let go, really let go, everything changed. Sierra lost her promotion, her apartment, and the carefully curated version of her life she'd built on the backs of others. Her friends scattered, each blaming the other for the wreckage. And me, I found peace. I took over the lease on our old place in Midtown, repainted the walls, replaced the couch, turned the garage back into what it was always meant to be mine. I finished restoring the shovelhead. Every Saturday, Travis came over with a case of beer and ribs from Elsie's BBQ. We'd work, talk, and laugh in a way I hadn't in years. Terrell started coming by too. We compared notes, shared stories. Not just about what we lost, but about what we gained the minute we stopped chasing validation from the wrong people. No more eggshells. No more group chats full of fake smiles. No more watching someone I loved pretend I was less than just because I worked with my hands. I didn't need revenge. Not really. All I needed was for the truth to breathe. See, people like Madison, Aubrey, and Vanessa, they don't implode because you attack them. They implode because they build their whole lives on appearances. And the minute someone refuses to play along, the cracks start to show. I never posted a rant, never sent a mass text, never told the world what they did. I just kept receipts, moved smart, and let their actions speak for themselves. Because here's the thing. You don't have to destroy someone who's already burning their own house down. But you do have to walk away. And that's the hard part. That moment when you realize you've outgrown who you had to be just to survive the relationship. The silence, the pretending, the compromise, it was never love. It was performance. And the second I stopped performing, everything got better. If someone only respects you when you're silent, they don't respect you at all. Real friends defend you behind your back, not just when it's convenient. Love isn't measured by how much you tolerate. It's measured by how much you grow. And finally, a man who builds with his hands isn't less than... he's just harder to replace. So if you're sitting there, wondering whether to stay quiet one more time, whether to swallow that last insult, whether to pay the bill just to keep the peace, remember this story. Remember that dinner. Remember how 4 people thought they were untouchable until one guy decided he was done. If you've ever walked away from something toxic, drop A in the comments. If you've ever been told you were too sensitive for defending your worth, tell your story. And if you're still in the middle of it, still figuring it out, let this be your sign. You don't owe anyone your silence. You owe yourself your freedom. Subscribe for more real stories. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And above all, never apologize for standing up when no one else will. This is Nathan Cole, And I promise you they never saw it coming.